We are almost done with the X-Men roster. We've casted the original First Class, the all-new giant-size X-Men team, and the 80s recruits. Next up we have the 90s. A little side note, I am casting Havok as well because I didn't get to him in a previous episode and I don't want to miss him. It's also worth mentioning that I won't be casting any characters who appear in the New Mutants. Although I don't think it officially will be a part of the MCU, there is a chance that it may continue as its own separate side story if the film does really well. That is, if it ever gets released. So, sorry New Mutant fans. This will be the second to last episode for recasting the X-Men team. Next week we'll be diving into the 2000s, then on to the Brotherhood of Mutants, and then I'll be tackling other villains like Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister, so please subscribe so you don't miss those parts. I was also going to move on to a new franchise after this one, but it seems like there's a large push for Fantastic Four and their villains, which would only take a couple of episodes. So let me know if you'd actually like to see that in the comments below, and maybe that will come up next. As for recasting these 90s X-Men, I've mentioned this in previous episodes, this is casting for the MCU, meaning actors who've appeared in the MCU up to this point are off the table. I also try and cast actors who aren't really well known for a specific role yet, so we just don't see that actor on the screen. But today we're talking about the 90s recruits of the X-Men. There isn't many of them, but we're tackling some very iconic mutants. We're talking about Gambit, Jubilee, Bishop, and even Havok. So let's recast the X-Men. First up we have the one a lot of you have been waiting for, Gambit. We've only seen him on screen once, and in a better movie, Taylor Kitsch could actually worked really well in the role. Unfortunately, he appeared in this bomb. Now Gambit has had a solo movie in development hell since its inception, with obviously Channing Tatum attached to play the role. Now I can see some resemblance to Gambit in Channing Tatum, but I could never wrap my head around him playing the character. Unlike most people, I kind of hate this casting. In my eyes, it just doesn't work. But I think there's other people who can really nail this role better than he could. Now, if I was to describe Gambit in one word, it's smooth. Everything from him playing poker to him being in the Guild of Thieves with this iconic accent. He's the very definition of a smooth criminal. He's obviously most well known for his playing cards, being thrown with kinetic energy in them, but he also does have that bow staff, and he's very dancer-like when striking people down. So, obviously, it's important we need someone who's beyond smooth, someone who reeks of cool. It's also important to note how important that Cajun accent is. It's one of Gambit's defining features.
Aside from being blinded by your dazzling beauty, I seek an audience with the King of Genosha.
Finding an actor who is naturally Cajun and has that accent is nearly impossible. I really looked into it and no one really fits him, so we have to look in a different direction. Now, Cajun accents, and the people from Louisiana who don this accent, are actually French immigrants, and the accent is derived from French speakers who are trying to speak English with some southern flair mixed in. So I thought it might actually be easier for a French actor to nail this really tough accent. That's why I went with Gaspard Ulliel. Accent aside, this man just looks like Gambit brought to life, and he actually has the persona as well. He's so smooth, he was the face of Chanel.
I'm not going to be the person I'm expected to be anymore.
Now, he is most well known in American films for his role in Hannibal Rising, but you can't hold that against him, because he's been in a lot more French movies these days, and he's made himself stand out as a really well-versed actor.
Ah, j'ai aussi retrouvé un poème que tu avais écrit quand tu étais petit. Comme tu es heureux, tu n'as besoin de rien, tu as tout. La richesse, la beauté, la jeunesse. C'est beau d'être comme ça, mais de cette vie, tu en es déjà là. Tu n'en as plus envie. Je mettrai tout dans une caisse et je la porterai à Pierre.
La mouche. Est-ce que tu l'es?
I also like seeing actors who aren't really well known take on an iconic character and make it their own. I think Gaspard can do that. So Gaspard Ulliel as Gambit. Next up we have Havok. Now, I enjoyed Lucas Till's version of the character, even though he kind of fell off after First Class. Now, Havok is the older brother of Cyclops. That's kind of how I want to bring him into the team. Since I've already casted Armie Hammer in the role of Cyclops, who is 33 years old, Havok obviously needs to be older. Because of that, we'll see a much different version of this character than that youthful, uncertain version that Lucas brought to screen. I'd like to see a more confident version, who's more capable and fully control of his powers. Someone who doesn't necessarily join the X-Men, but has a guest role on the team, and when his brother calls him for help. I went with Jensen Ackles for the role of Havok. He is 42 years old, which is a lot older than Armie, but he honestly doesn't look much older than 5 years his senior. He has an archetype that I feel would work well in this character. and I also think it would have some really wonderful interplay with his brother, more of a sarcastic type playing off his brother's seriousness.
No destiny. Just a rabbit's foot.
Put the gun down, son, or you're gonna be scraping brain off the wall.
Oh, this thing?
Yeah, that thing.
Okay. But you see, there's something about me that you don't know.
Yeah, what would that be?
It's my lucky day.
So Jensen Ackles as Havok. Next up we have Jubilee. Now she is not one of my favorite X-Men by any stretch. Honestly, I hated her, specifically in the 90s cartoon. I found her extremely irritating, but she is a favorite among many fans. Now I think Lana Condor was perfect for this role. It's unfortunate she had such a small part in the film. It's kind of like she was there just to appease fans. I'd love to have her back in the role, but it's always been a rule of mine that I cannot recast an actor, so we have to look elsewhere. Now it's important that we have an actual teenager in this role. While others can get away with being a little bit older of an actor, I feel like when Jubilee joins the team, she needs to be one of the youngest, if not the youngest team member there. I'd like to see her a little bit more loud and bubbly, similar to her powers. I want to see her as more of a firecracker. I went with Ashley Liao. She's 18 years old, has that bubbly vibe. I first saw her in Fresh Out the Boat in Fuller House. Now she does play a little bit more into that sitcom vibe of overacting, but she's still great in these roles. I can see her bringing that more youthful vibe to the team and bringing that bubbly nature.
Have we met before? Because I thought...
Oh, yes, we met at the fall ball. Nice to see you again, Mr. Huang.
Please, come in. Louis, you didn't tell me Allison was Chinese. This is the only surprise you've ever given me that I have liked.
I'd like to present you with a traditional gift of oranges. I buy them wholesale.
So Ashley Liao as Jubilee. Lastly, we have Bishop. Now Bishop is a character who, as many do, got very shortchanged in the films. He's really a character who could lead an entire film on his own. He just has that interesting story. Now Marvel, if you're listening, it'd make for a great miniseries. He's from the future, raised in a mutant concentration camp, which gave him that iconic M scar over his right eye. He's had years and years of stories in the comics, but it's his upbringing and that time where he grows and him eventually joining the X-Men team is what I'd really like to see on screen. Now I think there's always been a debate between Cable or Bishop, and I've always fallen on the side of Bishop. The actor needs to be very dominating. In the comics, he's 6'6" and jacked. Bishop is a really no-nonsense character. He's a character who's experienced a lot, and he needs someone who can really bring that backstory and can translate that, even if it's not shown on screen. Now the perfect choice for this character is Idris Elba. I mean, look at Heimdall here. He's pretty much Bishop. But of course, he is Heimdall, so he's in the MCU. So it's really not a possibility. Now I normally try and stay away from actors who've appeared as comic book characters before, but I feel like Yahya Abdul-Mateen is too good to pass up on. He was in Aquaman, but I debate you probably forgot he was in it, by no fault of his own. I mean, the script was a little bit simplistic in his story, but if you've seen HBO's Watchmen series, and if you haven't, go out and watch it right now because HBO's Watchmen series is one of the best things I've seen in a very long time. But Yahya is incredible. Everything I've seen him in, even The Get Down, he's really a standout performer. To this point, I've really seen him do no wrong. I do also love the fact that he is 6'3" and ripped, and that he does have a little bit of a wear on his face. He has scars that were probably caused from acne, but it gives him that level of a worn feel to him, as if he's seen war. He brings gravitas to a role like Black Mantis, even though he doesn't really have much to do in the script. He can bring so much to a character even with a look, and that's really required for a character like Bishop. Largely, he'll be seen on screen alone since he's traveling alone, and he'll likely have minimal dialogue.
Stress signals disabled. We're running dark again.
But they heard it. You can count on it.
I'll make you a deal. I won't tell you how to captain. And you don't tell me how to pirate.
I'm 100% positive he can nail this role. So Yahya Abdul-Mateen as Bishop. So there are my 90s X-Men. Please stay tuned for the next episode, which is the 2000s. And as always, let me know your picks in the comments below. I always love reading them. As always, thank you so much to my patrons: Adam Gray, Jeremy Jacobs, Jenny Edwards, Gabe Marchanda, Gunnar Legland, Colleen West, Marco Perry, Roland, Aiden McShane, Shalon Hudson, Kieran Hunt, George Conan, Brandon Warner, Sweevy, Alex Towle, Derek B. Bell, Jacob Wolf, Alexander Gardulo, Lisa Hewer, Rachel Kilker, and James Rogers. Thank you for your support, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.